crawfishing. Tony, what's the scene for today? What we're going to do?
Well, we're going to be heading south, which is that direction, away from the interstate. We're going to go to the power lines. Okay. We're going to crawfish are pretty thick. I was here last week, Saturday, caught about 25 pounds. And they're big crawfish, kind of like the little guy you see right there. That's going to be our little mascot. All right. So hopefully we'll catch a sack apiece.
So what we're going to be using? Deep water nets?
Deep water nets with melts and some of the fish carcasses.
So we got melt, fish carcasses, and we're going to do a little test today, see what they actually bite better on, meat.
Exactly.
Or fish. So we'll figure that out too. Alright guys, the deep water net right here. Not really too deep, huh?
No.
And we have clips here. So these nets Tony actually made. And Tony, where'd you get the netting from?
Gus's, and Gus and his dad were very good about giving me ideas on how to make them. And I actually met a guy in the swamp, believe it or not, that told me about Lowe's, where I got the high tension wire. You can't really see it, but this came from a roll of high tension wire, and I have a little nylon spacer. You might be able to see it right there. I shove both ends into it, and instead of welding it, I mean, I can weld it, but it's just as easy using nylon spacer, and it's not coming out. And this is probably a brand new net, never been used, with a nice Williams Boulevard flounder going in, and we're going to bait it by this, so we'll see what happens.
All right, first net's out. What we got here is some beef melt, and it's a good idea to take this melt and at home pre-cut it, so you don't have to fool with this, you know, cutting this out here when you're out here sweating and getting eaten by mosquitoes. So what we're going to do is just put it right in this clip here, and that's an easy step to avoid.
We're getting ready to start crawfishing. The reason I'm tying this flagging is so Keith and I know where we started. I'll start on the west side, and he'll start on the east side, or vice versa, and that way we'll know this is like our midpoint. And it doesn't matter if he checks my nets or I check his. This will let us know where we started our excursion, and we'll start dropping nets off. And it'll take a while because we got 61 nets. I believe I have either 30 or 31, and Keith's got the vice versa of that. So between the two of us, we should be catching a lot of crawfish. And the guy we just saw, what did he say? Keith had about 70 pounds?
70 pounds already.
And he started at daybreak. And we're at 8:20. We've been paddling how long? About
20 minutes, huh?
20 minutes, yeah. And we're pretty close to the power lines. So we'll get going and hopefully catch a lot of crawfish, big ones.
get too much footage on video of you because we had to break apart.
That's okay.
I got some video of me, but tell me what you went through. First of all, the fish and the melt. Did you decipher any difference in the two baits as far as catching?
That's kind of hard to tell because I put all my nets in the same kind of stuff in the vegetation.
Yeah.
So I didn't vary whether I put the net with the melt in vegetation, the net with the fish in vegetation. I would think they probably caught equally well.
Yeah.
What would happen is the turtle you caught, I would guess you caught him with fish, but you said you caught him with melt, right? It was in fish?
It was fish.
Okay, because that's usually what happens. Now I did see a couple of snakes, and I don't know if the snakes were going to nets that had fish in them or melts. I think it was melts, but I didn't catch any snakes, thank God.
So when you broke off from me, you set your first line down, you hit them one after the other, and then worked your way back?
Yeah, what I do is I kind of go in a circle.
Okay.
You know, you saw that flag and I tied, which is kind of a good thing. That way I know where my first net was, and then I work around in somewhat of a semicircle or complete circle.
So you can hit the first net you set down in order, and they all have the same amount of time leaving. Now, a problem I had was I set mine out, and I ran about 4 or 5 lines of it, and I started really drying up. Did you have that problem with the crawfish? Okay.
And what I would do is I wouldn't put them in the exact spot. You know, like if I put one here, like where that candle is, maybe I'd move it a little bit further, 4 or 5 feet further, either east or west or north or south. It wouldn't be in the exact spot every time.
Right.
And then I noticed when I came to you the first time and said I was going to move, they all kind of started petering out. You know, I'd catch 2 or 3. Then maybe 1 or 2, and then I get a couple.
Sense it. You can sense when you need to move.
Right, and I think we left 7 nets somewhere.
Oh, really?
So yeah, it's not a big deal. I don't know how that happened. It's easy. You know, if you don't know exactly how many you started with, which I didn't know how many I started with. I know how many total you and I had. But it's not a big deal. I mean, if I go back in, I'm going in Sunday. Don't know if I'll find them. Somebody may find them and confiscate them. But that's
They might still be back there. That's far back there.
Yeah, it is. And it's a good ways.
How do you like checking the, because I noticed that, I think stealth is very important when checking them. I noticed when I made a special attempt to be quiet on coming up and then pull them up, it seemed like I had a lot more in there. Like when I would bump into those corks before I could pull them up.
Oh yeah, you forget
there was hardly anything in there.
Well, what I do, I think I told you, I use the paddle on one hand in my left hand, and I use the bamboo pole, the snatch pole, if you want to call it that, on the other hand. I use it almost like slalom poles. And I kind of guide myself and get as close to the either bridle cork or the top cork. If you can get the bridle cork, that's ideal, because that's right above where they are. Sometimes you grab the top cork and it slips, and then you lose everything.
Right.
But I've tried to pick them up real fast, and I have a kid that went with me. He was picking them up slow. And he would get like maybe, I'd get 20 pounds. He'd be lucky to get 5 pounds. Now you and I had, what, 59 pounds between the two of us. That's pretty doggone good.
And we really didn't take that long doing it.
No.
3 hours?
I would say 3 hours, you know, because by the time, if you subtract setting up the video, setting up this, setting up that, if you just strictly went and said, okay, let's crawfish, we could have probably started at 8 and we'd have been done by 11.
Right. Video definitely does slow us down. But we ended up with 2 sacks, and we're about to boil them up, guys.
Let's go!